What's it like the first couple of days? And I mean, you got some guys back.
Yeah.
It's nice to have them, isn't it?
It is. I mean, to have some experience back and two really talented guys like that. I mean, it's impressive. Just to see the growth from them, especially for Isaac, who came a year ago. Even him talking, he's getting better. He's coming out of the shell, and he definitely is expressing more confidence, playing with more confidence. Duke the same, even though this is his first spring. I mean, it's been impressive. Now we've got a long way to go. It's our first day in pads. We've got a lot of things to clean up. People haven't really hit them recently, so from a contact balance standpoint, staying off the ground, we've got to improve in some areas. But it's really good to have those two and Keywan back.
From a mental aspect, after the season those two freshmen had, especially Isaac with all the accolades that he received, do you see them? Does he have the same mental approach? Not coming with a "hey, I've arrived" type of mentality, but still, that worker mentality.
I think so. He's had a really good offseason. He's put on about 6 pounds, and it looks good. It's distributed the right way. And then that's where I come into play as his coach, is to make sure that I continue to stay on him, keep him humble, continue to find ways to push him, both he and Duke, because you're right, he did have a lot of accolades as a freshman, and it's easy to have the sophomore slump, so to speak. And myself, I kind of draw on my own experience. I had a decent freshman year as well, and I really had to work that much harder my sophomore year to avoid that. And that was the best season of my career, was my sophomore campaign. So, they hear from me all the time. So they every day they're like, "No, coach, this is my best year in high school is my sophomore year, and I plan to be the same way in college." So we'll see how it goes.
Chris, it's hard though. It is hard though, isn't it, for a running back? That's the one thing. It's like, what can you get better? What do you need to work on? And when you get to that point, you still have to kind of be hungry. What
Yes.
does he need to work on? And do you see that he's still hungry, Isaac?
Oh yeah, definitely. The kid is. The thing about Isaac is he's wired differently. Like he loves the game, but he's not immersed in it to the sense where he loses himself in the game. He has good self-awareness of what he can do with his strengths and weaknesses. But I like to take a different approach when it comes to that. I ask the guys, each individual, like, what is the one area that you'd like to improve on the most going into your second campaign? And he said for him it was contact balance. And I saw that. There were a lot of just shoestring tackles with him his freshman year. Lower body needs to get stronger. People would swipe his shins and he's on the ground, where if he powers through that, there might be a 70-yard touchdown. So there were some yards left on the field. And so we've done some different things from an individual standpoint, just trying to increase, getting close to them, trying to, get around them, make them play through obstruction on the lower half, kind of tapping their shins, tapping the side of their legs. Get used to playing through the contact, because there's some more yards that we can gain out there, and that's the area that you said you wanted to improve on the most. So that's one of the areas I'd like to see him continue to improve in pass protection. He's willing. We've just got to clean his technique up, but there's a lot of other areas, but those two primarily.
Kind of building off of the running through contact, how much better has he gotten in that department from the start of last season to now? Because it seemed like towards the end of his freshman campaign, he was starting to take some strides in that area.
I was actually surprised when I looked at the numbers. I'm really big into stats, and I think numbers speak to me. And one of the things that jumped off the film, I guess, to me in the stat sheet was he averaged 4 yards after contact on the season. Which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Isaac Orindo in 2023, he averaged around that as well. It was like 4 yards after contact, which would put him near the top half nationally. And so for him to be as small as he was, he uses his velocity to gain yards, and power through. And he does have some lower body strength. And so, there's more that we can achieve as he puts on weight and gains mass and muscle strength. I think he can start to power through some of those tackles that last year have resulted in four more yards, and maybe now it results in 40 more, and now we're in the end zone. So we're just trying to add elements to the game that they already have, and it's exciting when you have that much talent already.
What's his weight at right now?
He's about 186.
But were you a little surprised maybe Duke as fast as it did come for him? It seemed like right when you put him in, it was just like, whoa, he hadn't been here but a month.
Correct. And someone was asking us the other day, who do I feel like made the most strides? Who had showed the most improvement last year? And I think without question it was Duke. without question. He started the season, I think he was the 5th string tailback against Austin Peay. Isaac was the 4th string tailback. And like you said, as soon as you put him in the game, it was just like fireworks, you know, and he runs, for him to be, at that time, the smallest back in the room, he runs like he's 200 pounds. And he's fearless. He has great contact balance. They're kind of opposites, so to speak, in that regard. It's hard to push him off balance. He's like a cat. You know, you can't really drop him on his head. You know, he does a really good job of adjusting to forces around him, upper body and lower body. He's got great instincts, and I think just the toughness that he displayed was what shocked us all. You know, and he really grasped the offense. He kind of learned it fairly quickly, and he was able to go in and be effective. And the other thing too with him was, you know, he's a willing blocker. I mean, he's, you know, middle Georgia kid. He's tough. He's willing, and you know, if your kid's willing, we can coach the technique. And so it was a little surprising for him to have as much success as he did early on. But then once he kind of got his footing, I mean, it was fun to watch him just continue to improve each week.
Chris, I'm kind of curious about the impact off the field in the recruiting world. When you have two guys that go into the NFL draft the same year, last year, you got a freshman All-American, another true freshman does really well. What's the reaction like on the recruiting trail when you're knocking on kids' doors or going into high schools to talk about the Louisville running game?
Oh man, it's a mixed bag. You know, it's a mixed bag. You know, it's definitely a good reception most of the time, and then there's always the, am I going to get to play there? I mean, you got two, very bright stars over there, and so I like to play as a freshman, but I'm probably going to have to sit behind those two, like that type of thing. So you have to kind of massage that a little bit, but I think it's a benefit. Like I tell these guys, I mean, you have the benefit of learning from two of the best backs in the country, and they're not gigantic individuals. They play the game from from the neck up fast, and they play it from the chest. They're all heart, courage, and those kids they practice and they play the right way. So I think that any running back out there, if you want to come and learn from some of the best backs in the country and be in a scheme that's going to use your versatility, you see the type of yardage that we're putting up in the running game and the passing game, all-purpose yardage from 2023 with Isaac Rindo and Jaws to last year with Isaac Brown and Duke. There's a lot of production in that room, and that shows commitment to that position. And so Coach Brom and the staff, I mean, they do a good job of kind of opening our guys up, getting them in space and allowing them to play fast and make plays. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and it's very attractive across nationwide. I mean, we've got very good interest, and so I feel pretty good about the 2026 recruiting class right now.
Chris, it's obviously big to get guys like Duke and Isaac back for another year. They get a lot of the headlines as you would expect. But how big is it to get Keon Brown back for another season?
Oh man, it's huge. That's huge. I mean, he's of all the guys in the room, I mean, he's kind of like my son, really, because I mean they all are my sons, but he committed to us when we were at the previous institution. So I've known that kid since he was a junior in high school, and I've recruited him longer than anybody in the room. So I know Bama like inside and out, and he, I think, gives us an element that the other two don't. He's a little bigger, a little stronger, a little more yards after contact, more of a gritty type of game, a physical brand of ball, which I think you need to have different types of backs. You want the defense to prepare for different styles of play, and I think that's critical what he brings to us. And he's got good hands and smart. And like you said earlier, I mean, he's done a really good job of helping both Duke and Isaac, learn the offense. And so he's a good leader. And the good thing is, they're all young, and so they all know it and they love each other. And that's a good thing. Chemistry is big.
You have another young one in there. How's he progressing? And this time last year, I think Isaac was even kind of swimming a little bit early on, right?
Yes, he was. And it's the same with Gator. I mean, Gator's swimming right now. But the thing is, he's smart. He comes from an incredible program at Venice High School. They won the state championship this year, and I think he was the 7A player of the year. Really productive in high school. He takes copious notes. His notebook, he's got 2 notebooks already. He had to ask me for another one. He's got so many notes in the first one. Asks good questions, comes early, stays late. It matters to him. It's just got to translate to the field. He's still learning the pace of practice. I think that's the biggest transition for him, is the speed of practice, the intensity. And I think once he figures that part out, I think he'll be fine. But you're right. I mean, Isaac struggled early on as well, so he's kind of been the barometer, for my guys that come in mid-years, just to see how do they make that transition? Because it was rough early for Isaac, but he righted the ship about midway through spring ball, and then he started rolling. So, it's to be expected for the young man to have mistakes early on, but I'm just excited to see how he adjusts and how he moves forward.
Thanks, Chris.